right, guys. First step, pretty obvious. I mean, was cleaning everything off. So I guess technically this is step 2. So I am gonna take the top off of this thing. It's just a crappy MDF, so it's probably just a couple of leg screws from the underside into the top. I'm gonna be popping, obviously I'll pop off the tubing roller. And if you guys are curious, I'm actually gonna be doing it's like a cart that's gonna have all of my tubing tools on it. So a tubing bender and a tubing roller that's going to be on a cart with casters, and it's going to have as small of a footprint as possible so that you can kind of wheel it around the shop and then put it back when you're done with it. That way I don't have to put anchors into the floor. So watch for that if you're curious about fab tools. That'll be on the channel eventually here. And if it is out, then just watch for the little flippity-doo that'll pop up here at the top of the screen. So let's take out the drawers, let's take off the top. We'll wipe it down really good, and then we'll flip it upside down and start putting the casters on. Okay, I got this dirty ass table flipped up, and it's a little more rusty than I realized. I didn't look at this super closely, but more than likely, especially if you're using this video, some ideas, maybe inspiration to go grab a, basically free steel work table and throw something like this together for yourself. You're probably going to run into this where there's rust, and especially if the steel touches directly to the floor like this one does. So, game plan, instead of attaching casters to this with plates, I'm going to cut that off. So I'm going to follow this line here. So I'm going to cut that all the way across. And then I've got some 2x2 steel that sweet go-kart, check out the video on that. I've got some 2x2 tubing that I'm going to be using for that, that cart that I alluded to earlier. So I'm going to cut 4 feet off of that. And then I'm going to weld it across. The plates will weld to that, which the casters will attach to. And then I'll have tubing that will go from this piece here, this 2x2 here, that's going to go straight to the top as well. So it'll help keep it a little bit more rigid, tie everything together, and then the sheet metal is going to get tacked to all of this stuff as well. So it will add an extra bit of rigidity to it. Not going to rely exclusively on the sheet metal to hold it all rigid. That's where the tubing will be really nice. So let's get this marked and cut off. there's always just crap on the floor in here. That's part of why I've been working on workbenches and storage stuff, and now having a nice like dedicated fixture table for welding and stuff to not have so many things spread all over the place. Things need to have places to go, especially as you get further into your hobbies and you end up with more tools that need to go somewhere. So hence of this whole thing. So the last step to this whole process is a plasma cutting drawer. Now I've been using it up to this point as just that, hence why it's so disgusting inside of this thing. And what I want to do is just improve on this just ever so slightly by putting a grate that will go into it, but I want to make it somewhat removable. So that way you can try and clean underneath it, because it needs to be able to do that. Yes, you can pull out the whole drawer and you can dump it all out. That's fine and dandy, but I'd like for something to be able to like flip up or at least be removable. So that's going to be the next step. If you've ever done plasma cutting, it's super fun. But it just sprays crap everywhere, and that's where this kind of a collection system is really valuable. It's not a big space, it's not very deep, so it's not optimal by any stretch. But for small hobbyist kind of stuff, I mean, it kind of works. You need a place to just rest something, and a place for all the crap to go that's not going to just spray all over your workshop. So next step is to start fabbing that up, and I'm going to show you guys how exactly I'm doing it. So, here we go. Very simple, just picked up some 1/2" box tubing, and then 1/2" eighth, just like flat stock steel. And I'm just gonna throw together a grid doing this. I was gonna get some grating for the top of it, but I thought a little more about it, and it's like, why try and hunt down a specialty piece when I can literally just throw together some slats? We'll test that out, see how it works. Worst case scenario, I just do a little more welding than I would need to than if I got a straight up piece of grating to just toss down on it. So this will be fine. Dimensions are basically 16 inches by 22 inches. So thereabouts, I'm gonna cut some pieces. I'm gonna make a little square. I actually get to use the metal top now for this, so that's gonna be cool. So throw that together really quick here. And then I'm actually going to have a couple of legs on the back side that's going to allow it to sort of pivot. So that way I can lift it up if I need to like do any sweeping or wiping anything up inside there. So let's start building this, this grating system now. right, guys, so that wraps things up, and I gotta say, I'm pretty pleased with the way that it turned out. Considering that it started with about an 18-year-old crappy Craftsman steel workbench, and I threw together a little teeny bit of a bottom frame. I tacked it all together and I tossed a nice 1/4-inch top plate on it. We've got holsters on the side for angle grinders, places for clamps to go. You know, the drawers holding all of the consumables for welding and plasma cutting. We got storage, and then we of course got the plasma cutting setup that's in that little drawer. So I think it's gonna work out pretty good for my needs for at least the foreseeable future. Give it a year or so, we'll see, maybe longer. And eventually I'll do a version 2 table where I'm actually fabricating the entire thing. It'll be bigger, it'll probably have a thicker top, it'll have perforated holes on the top of it for mounting things down. But we'll cover that at that point. For now, we're gonna build some fixtures to mount to this. We're gonna drill some holes in it eventually, but that's not something I'm tackling today. So thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, appreciate you enjoying the content, sticking around, subscribing, hitting all the right buttons. It all bumps you up a little bit in the algorithm. So thank you very much, guys, and we will see you on the next video.